moving on to the Nigerian market update, the all-share index up 1.4% today, closing at 36,907.81. That represents a year-to-date performance of 31%. Gainers there: Dangote Cement, Nestle, Nigerian breweries, international breweries, Julius Berger. There was some losses in Total, WAPCO, FBN Holdings, NASCON, and Owando. And joining me in studio to discuss the activity in the market is Jimi Ogbobine. He's the head research at Consolidated Discounts. Jimmy, it's great to have you on the show. I think it would be great for you to start, first of all, with your thoughts on the way the market traded today. Of course, we saw gains of up to 1.4%. Dangote Cement did very well today. We've gone over the 36,000 point, 36,907. Lots of people are expecting the index to hit 37,000. What's your take?
Unfortunately, as much as people are talking about the index hitting 37,000, you also have another voice of doubt who is saying that we're approaching bubble territory once again. So you just, who wins the debate at the end of the day will determine where we see the index heading towards. But when big cap stocks like Dangote Cement gain, when big cap stocks like Nigerian breweries and Nestle gain, then, and if this could be sustained, then you just see us actually hitting the 37,000 points.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the inflation rate. Of course, came out for April, 9.1%. It would be interesting to know the effect that this could have on the equities market. Many analysts expect that that rise could lead to a temporary sell-off in the equities market, causing prices to dip.
I really do not think so. You know, the equities market isn't as correlated to the inflation numbers like you have in the bonds market. But even in the bonds market, you don't see this kind of correlation playing out any longer. Like you said, first 4 months we've had single-digit inflation rates. So I think sort of the system is adjusting to single-digit rates. So I really don't see that playing out in the equities market. I may be wrong, but let's see how next week goes.
I suppose so. Now let's move on to the Q1 results there from Fidelity Bank. We saw revenue up 40%. As I said, profit after tax 41%. Your thoughts on the results?
Interesting results. You know, Fidelity Bank has always been known as a very quiet but disciplined bank, and you saw that reflecting not just their results recently, but they just raised about $300 million and got very attractive yields at about 6.875. And so things are actually looking good for them now, and things may look better for them in a while to come. They've now got a war chest where they could play in syndicated loan clubs better, where they could play in dollar-denominated clubs better. So I think actually 2013 may actually turn out to be a very good year for them.
Now that stock actually came down 1% today after the result came through, which is quite surprising. I think a lot of people expected the stock to have some gains there. Why do you think the market reacted that way?
Because sometimes you just have people who want to book profit irrespective of what the results say. They're not playing fundamentals, they're not playing value, or they're playing in speculation. So it depends on your game plan. But if you're a value investor and you're looking for the next cheap stock to actually become a value stock, you could actually look at them.
I see. Now, let's move on to the results we had from Cadbury. Ever since the Q1 results came out, which were pretty good as well, we had profit after tax go up 185%. Since then, the market has responded 6% gains since the results came out 2 days ago. How much more gains can we expect to see in that stock?
I think Cadbury, back in the days, Cadbury used to be one of Nigeria's most attractive value stocks, along with the likes of Nestle. Then after they had their crisis, they fell out of grace. But they're gradually gaining back their old Cadbury, old Cadbury fame. And they're gradually warming their hearts again into the minds and hearts of value investors. So for them, and if you see the kinds of results that came out of Nestle, that came out of Unilever, you saw very thin growth in margins for those who could even grow profitability. You saw what Guinness released. So for Cadbury to record to post this kind of big numbers, double-digit growth in indicators, I think that's quite positive for them as well.
Let's talk about the oil sector. We had results from MRS there. We actually saw first quarter loss after tax. However, even though the results were not that great, they did propose a dividend of 23 kobo. And then yesterday we saw the stock go up 10%, which was quite surprising. being that, the results were not so good. Today, that stock has traded flat. What would you say drove those initial gains in a stock like that?
Yeah, because Nigerians are dividend hunters. Anyone just hears dividends. People aren't checking figures like the dividend yields. People aren't checking the long-term sustainability of management plans. People aren't checking if the corporate governance is there. People aren't checking if the company needs to expand, but paying proceeds for expansion as dividends. So until investors begin to do these kinds of analysis, then you just hear a dividend announcement and then people just rush into it and then begin to do the analysis afterwards. So sometimes you see a stock post dividends today, announces dividends, everyone rushes in. Then the next, everyone starts to sell because people now go back and crunch the numbers, and if numbers don't look good, then the head mentality starts to wane off investors.
So you think that perhaps going into that week, we could start to see things change for that stock?
I would rather want to hear about MRS's expansion plans than hear about a dividend payment. I want to hear about the expansion plans. I want to hear the final word on the whole deregulation crisis we saw in the National Assembly, and if they've been finally exonerated. As a value investor, those are the things that will bother me more than this dividend announcement.
Let's talk about prospects for microfinance banks in Nigeria. I mean, we had NPF Microfinance Bank release figures. Really good revenue, profit after tax went up significantly as well, and that stock went up 10% yesterday. Today it went up 9.1%. Of course, in 2 days, nearly 20%. It's not the sort of stock that people usually jump at, or it probably doesn't have that many, it doesn't move the market much. However, of course, we've seen a lot of reaction to the result. So your prospects for, your thoughts on the prospects for that space, microfinance? Okay,
the microfinance space is actually a very interesting space. It will continue to produce big winners and big losers. A very high risk business. The tenure of a bank, of a microfinance bank, is very short if you high risk. But I'll tell you why I would place a bet on NPF Microfinance Bank. The NPF Microfinance Bank, for instance, the Nigerian police force has got a staff strength of over 350,000 men and officers. Each one of them can always walk into any NPF microfinance branch and take a loan. And very importantly, the bank can actually place a lien on the salary of that Nigerian police force member. So when you have a possible customer base as a microfinance bank of 350,000 members, and you can actually place a lien on the salary of these people when they pick up loans, it sort of de-risks the bank, it de-risks the risk asset portfolio of the bank. So just on the back of that model, and interestingly, for all the what people talk about in the microfinance bank space and in the Nigerian police, they've been able to get management right in the NPF Microfinance Bank. So just these little salient things actually will make me place a bet on them.